The 2007 college football season was probably the craziest in the sport's history. A season of absolute chaos that was so much fun and even exciting to look back on today. This year's 12-team college football playoff got me thinking, what if the 2007 season had a playoff? First, we have a lot of viewers who might not be familiar with the 2007 season, so let's let these numbers talk and illustrate how wild it truly was. An unranked or lower-ranked team beating a ranked team 59 times, teams in the top 5 losing to unranked teams 13 times, and the curse of number 2. 2007 was for real the year of the upset and the underdog. In order to pick my 12 teams, I first had to break some rules here and actually make it a 14-team bracket. I don't think anyone's complaining about making this field even crazier after all. So here's the bracket. I used the final BCS rankings at the end of the season to determine these rankings and added the top 2 group of 5 finishers in BYU and Hawaii to round things out as the 13 and 14 seeds. A lot of fun hypothetical matchups here. Which one do you think would have been the most fun? I really like that West Virginia and Kansas matchup, or Matt Ryan and Boston College against John David Booty and USC. Some other players you may remember that are in this video: Texas quarterback Colt McCoy, Tennessee linebacker Gerard Mayo, and their whole stable of 3 ridiculously good running backs, Hawaii quarterback Colt Brennan, who was a Heisman finalist and had the best haircut in college football history, Missouri quarterback Chase Daniel, who was also an NYC for the Heisman ceremony, Frank Beamer leading his team at Virginia Tech with some defensive studs, linebacker James Laurinaitis at Ohio State alongside defensive back Malcolm Jenkins, a young Sam Bradford for Oklahoma taking the reins, that crazy Pat White-Steve Slayton duo at West Virginia, but also Pat McAfee, and for Kansas, Akeem Talib and quarterback Todd Reesing too. Here's how the setup goes. Both number 1 LSU and number 2 Georgia will get first round byes, and the higher seed will host at their home stadium for the first round before moving to a neutral stadium for the remainder of the tournament. After many trials and tribulations, I settled upon Heisman difficulty, 8-minute quarters being around the most realistic simulation statistically. I applied some custom sliders, but they essentially did nothing, as you'll see throughout this video. Also kept in-game injuries on, which did impact some games, but those injuries will not be carried over into the second round. So let's jump right into our first matchup, which was an absolute banger to start off the video between BYU and Hawaii. The Warriors went 12-0 in the regular season before falling to Georgia 41-10 in the Sugar Bowl, while BYU started the season 1-2, but finished out 11-2 with the bowl win over UCLA, who had beat them in the regular season. It was Max Hall against Colt Brennan, and the 2 quarterbacks had plenty of highlights and lowlights in this one. Brennan threw for 362 yards per game in real life and 38 passing touchdowns in the 2007 season. He actually had 58 in 2006, but he doesn't waste any time in our simulation scenario as he finds Ryan Grice-Mullen just over a minute into the game for the touchdown on a good-looking pass. It's got to be that haircut, man. I'm telling you guys. I think the kids today call that aura. It would end up being a rough quarter to start things off for the Cougars as they turned the ball over 4 times in the period. Their first giveaway led to a touchdown pass from Brennan to his fullback, and we will always show fullback scores on this channel, by God. Warriors offense clicking early, and then both teams started feeling generous, giving the ball to each other. First it's a BYU fumble, then Brennan follows that up, throwing an interception just moments later. The teams combined to turn it over 11 times in this game. More turnovers in the first quarter, as this time it results in points for Hawaii as Dane Porless gets the interception and takes it all the way in for those 6 points. Warriors going up now 21-0 after the pick 6. The kickoff following that score is going to result in another score, as this is BYU returning the kick all the way back as Brandon Howard does the honors for the Cougars. Weirdly, 4 of the 6 games in this simulation had special teams scores. We're still in the first quarter. We are still experiencing more insanity, this time by way of a Hawaii scoop and score as Myron Newberry picks up the ball, goes the distance for the second defensive touchdown for the Warriors in the first quarter alone. It's 28-7, and guys, it's looking like Hawaii is going to run away with this one, right? If you said yes, you would be wrong. It's Max Hall getting it to Michael Reed on a deep ball. Reed making this sick diving catch to pull this one closer. Hawaii still in front, but now it's 28-14. Hawaii back on offense, and they are driving until, oh no! Brennan picked off. BYU's Andre Salisbury is going to take it all the way to the other end zone. We've got ourselves a game again. It's 28-21 Hawaii now. Brennan, though, makes up for the pick six. Next possession, he has almost 300 yards in the first half. And another touchdown pass to Bryce Mullen to get the Warriors a double-digit lead once more before halftime. But the Warriors, they were not done. They managed to get a stop, get the ball back with time to work, and that makes Brennan a very happy man. He continues to absolutely saute the Cougars secondary. He finds this guy, Bryce Mullen, for another touchdown. 42-21 at the break, just like that. This game was so wild, though, that we weren't even done with the first half scoring. Scratch that. You thought it was going to be over? There's just seconds left? I don't think so. Hawaii somehow getting the ball back, but they're going to give it back themselves as Brennan throws another interception. BYU takes advantage of it, too, with just seconds remaining as Allen is in at quarterback for the Cougars, and he gets a deep ball completion to finally close out the half as he finds Brendan Gaskins. And I need to drink some water and catch my breath. Goodness sakes, this game has a lot of points. BYU gets the ball early in the third, and Max Hall gets after it. He has several completions in this series and gets down the field fast before finding an 11-yard touchdown to pull his team back to within one possession with a whole lot of time to work with. A much more tamed third quarter, though, as that's the only score, and it's 42-35 going into the fourth. Colt Brennan in the pocket in the fourth, and I'm going to check my watch. Yeah, this dude has all day to throw, but oh, he fumbles! BYU recovers it, and they're going to make things very, very interesting now as they get a play-action bomb to detonate for the tying score. Hall and Brennan absolutely duking it out right now. This fight had more haymakers than Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Brennan, though, just always had the response when his team needed it the most. First coming through here on a third down at 14 to keep that drive chugging along. Then a play later hooking up with Devon Bess for the catch-and-run touchdown. And Hawaii is back in front in this seesaw affair. Look like we might continue this crazy back and forth as BYU gets it down inside Hawaii territory, but they run into some trouble keeping things going. Hall breaks out of a sack to extend the play, but a drop down the field will prove to haunt the Cougars. As the very next play on fourth down, long ways to go, they fumble the ball. Then we get one more chance, though, even though it looked bleak. Hawaii's going to convert this third down here with under a minute to play, but then they lose the ball. Of course, go figure. And back it goes to BYU, trailing by a touchdown with some time to tie it up. They won't be able to do that, however, as they throw their third interception of the game, a couple plays into their comeback drive attempt. Interestingly enough, Hawaii gets the ball back. They take a knee, which prompts BYU to use their final timeout. The Warriors end up being faced with a third and long. All they have to do is take a knee. The Cougars don't have any timeouts, but Hawaii decides to pull a Mario Cristobal. And fortunately, Warrior Nation, no pandemonium ensues as the tackle is made. The ball does not come out, and Hawaii walks out of Provo with a 49-42 victory. That's how you set the tone here out of the gates for this video. That win pushes Hawaii in a matchup with the number one seed, LSU Tigers, who won the BCS National Championship in the actual season. Colt Brennan throws for 467 and 5 touchdowns in the outing, but also added 3 interceptions. Can he continue his success against a stout LSU defense? Next up, we have another game of teams where the winner will advance and play a team coming off of a bye week. That's Tennessee traveling to Austin to take on the Longhorns for a shot to play Georgia in the second round. Both these teams had big bowl wins to close out their 2007 seasons and push themselves into that final 12 and final couple playoff spots in our simulation here. It's a beautiful 80-degree night in Texas, which, spoiler alert, will not be the case in all our games. That's right, we may have some crazy weather games to match up with these crazy matchups. And while it was hot outside, the home team was hot on the field, but they didn't start out that way. It was a disaster out of the gates, in fact. First play from scrimmage, and Jamal Charles loses it. Gerard Mayo there to scoop it up, and nobody can stop the future Patriots head coach as he gets Tennessee going super early on the road. Texas then responds just 2 plays later with their first touchdown as the young pup, Colt McCoy, shows off what he can do with his feet gets a long rushing score for the Horns to tie us up. Just seconds into the contest, Horns up for that run from Colt there. Looks like we may have another drunk game on our hands as we are still not even 3 minutes into the game, and Tennessee turns it over, followed by Texas getting the ball on their side and doing the exact same thing. This game also was bonkers with the turnovers, as Texas would end up having a playoff-high 8 turnovers as a team on the whole night. Tennessee goes back in front 10-7 after that McCoy interception was thrown on this made field goal. Gerard Mayo absolutely owning Texas, by the way. Just 3 minutes in, as he has the scoop and score touchdown, an interception, and then this sack on McCoy. Not sure what Colt did to piss him off, but he is not having it. McCoy would end up overcoming Mayo's monster efforts and get things going. And when he wasn't turning the ball over, Colt was making some plays for his team. As here it's Billy Pittman getting the long distance touchdown, and Texas leading 14-10 after one. More evidence now that this game is hammered on some good Texas liquor, maybe some of that Tito's or something, as we have Tennessee punting it, and the ball gets muffed, and it bounces around, and the Tennessee player falls on it into the end zone for a touchdown. Those aren't the only special team shenanigans of the quarter. Colquitt punting again, and this time Texas is able to catch it cleanly, and when they do, they say goodbye. Punt return touchdown for Texas to get back out in front 21-17. That gets McCoy going. He's fired up, and he is going to add on to the lead before halftime with another deep pass. This time going to Chris Ogabanaya. I probably destroyed that name. I'm sorry, Chris, if you're watching. And it's another Texas score to take a 28-17 advantage. A Longhorns field goal would make it 31-17 at halftime in favor of Texas. Another Texas field goal in the third quarter and some more McCoy turnovers make for a pretty boring third quarter. That Longhorns kick was the only points in the third, and it's 34-17 going into the final period. Vols with some work to do. In the fourth, both teams exchange gifts to each other like it's still Christmas time. Not sure if we're at a football game or a bakery with all these turnovers, as no team really seems to want to hold on to the ball here down the stretch. Finally, Texas comes through with, another field goal, and the score is now 38-17 with around 3 minutes left. Eric Ainge does finally get Tennessee back into the end zone for the first time since that special team score where the ball pinballed all around the field. And this is Kenny O'Neal with the house call to pull the balls to within the Vols, if I could say things correctly, to within 37-24. Tennessee, however, can't recover the onside kick or take advantage of Colt McCoy's sixth interceptions, and they end up losing by that score. The win puts Texas into the second round, where they'll take on the number 2 seed in the Georgia Bulldogs. That takes us to our next game that features the number 3 seed USC Trojans hosting the number 10 seed Boston College. This game ended up being really fun, actually. It was one I wasn't sure about, as USC is a pretty stacked team on this game in the midst of the Pete Carroll dynasty. 57 of their 69 players on the roster coming in ranked as an 80 overall or higher, as the Eagles had just 23 players on their depth chart with an 80 or better. This one seems like a mismatch, looks like a mismatch on paper, but Matt Ryan was having none of that talk. Both these teams were ones who fell victim to that number 2 curse at some time during the real college football season. LV Whitworth ended up being the starting running back for Boston College for some reason. I was going to adjust it, put Andre Callender in there, until Whitworth took it in early on a long touchdown run. We hadn't seen this type of play from a running back yet in the simulation, so I let it ride out. Whitworth opens the scoring. He would actually finish with 162 rushing yards on the game, which is one of the best performances from anyone on the ground in this simulation in the first round. Now we've got John David Booty. Yeah, that's his real name. And the USC offense on the field now, faced with a 3rd and 15, but no worries, as Booty, rocking everywhere. He finds David Osbury, and the sophomore scores for the Trojans to tie it up. Matt Ryan saw Colt McCoy do what he did with the 6 picks and said, hey, I want to be like him when I grow up. Here's toss number 1 to the wrong team from the Eagles QB1. Low-scoring first quarter, all knotted up at 7, but trust me, it would not stay that way for long. First play of the second quarter proves me right, as Booty shoots out a laser, and it goes 51 yards for a touchdown connection to Patrick Turner. Now USC has the lead for the first time in the game. Ryan put together some impressive throws in response to losing the lead, but deep down in Trojan territory, faced with a 3rd and goal, he gets picked off by Keith Rivers to end the drive. USC would add to their lead later on in the second, coming from the foot of David Buehler, who sends the field goal through to make it 17-7 Trojans. Late first half now, USC has the ball again, and they lose it on a monster hit. The fumble gets recovered by Boston College, and the Eagles have a super short field to play with. Still, they have to work for it, though. It comes down to a 3rd and goal, but this time no red zone mistakes from Ryan. He finds the big fella for the score, and we have ourselves a 1-score game once more before the break. Booty, though, isn't content with a 3-point lead. He wants some more points. He completes a beautiful throw here, just inbounds, and look at this, Booty is clapping. That sets up a Trojans field goal that is knocked through before halftime, and it's 20-14 USC at the half. Early third quarter, Boston College has a 3rd down, trying to stay alive, and it's a swing pass out in the flat to Whitworth, and nobody is there to pick up LV. And LV says LFG. The Eagles are back out in front thanks to this long run that is counted as a rush. Boston College up 21-20, early 3rd. They'll add to that advantage about midway through the 3rd now on the interception from a guy you may have heard of, Mr. Mark Herzlich. And Mark sets up a short field goal now that's made the score in favor of the Eagles, 24-20. You just can't contain a good booty for too long, though. And John David was looking like a good booty in this game. Another touchdown pass. This one coming to Jerron Patterson, and it's back on top for Booty and the Trojans, 27-24. Booty has a chance to stretch out the lead here, as USC has it back in DC territory, but the pass is not able to be caught by this Trojans target here, which leads to another USC field goal. That makes the score 30-24, which is where the score stood after 3 quarters. Early 4th now, Trojans have a chance to get some real cushion here, but Jamie Silva has other ideas. He gets the red zone takeaway from Boston College, his 2nd pick of the night, and now Boston College can try and reclaim the lead once more. They'll do just that on a 2nd down and long situation as Ryan is able to link up with Brandon Robinson, and Robinson gets himself a nice catch and run, and now all of a sudden, it's the Eagles back in front here in the Coliseum, 31-30 with under 6 minutes to play. Eagles thinking upset, but unfortunately for them, in this NCAA simulation, it just loves those special team scores for some reason, and the Trojans are able to get one right after the moment Boston College had taken the lead. Because of the score and the situation, they wind up going for 2, and then more madness ensues on the point after try, as it's Silva again getting into the mix. He intercepts it, and he takes it all the way back, which results in 2 points for the Eagles. After that conundrum and all the chaos, it was 36-33 USC. Same score, under 5 to go. Ryan has a 3rd down and long, but no bother. He finds his go-to guy, Robinson, again, and the catch on the deep ball pushes the Eagles inside Trojan territory again. However, those turnovers were just too hard to overcome for Ryan and the Eagles. Another costly one here, trailing by 3 late in the game in the red zone. Boston College busted ass to try and come back. They get the ball back again, but unfortunately for Ryan, he just cannot throw the football to the right team in this 4th quarter. He wouldn't be done either because USC winds up being forced to kick a field goal, which only puts them ahead by 6. So that leaves the Eagles somehow still with the shot in this one. 33 seconds left, and Ryan, oh no, surrender Cobra. He gives it up. And this time it goes all the way back for a pick 6, adding to the Trojans' lead. Then in amazing EA Sports fashion, the next play for Ryan from scrimmage is another pick 6. That makes this one look a little closer than it was, as USC ends up coming out on top, 52-33, thanks to 6, count them, 6, again, 6 interceptions thrown from Matt Ryan, and I believe 4 of those came in the 4th quarter. So that will put the number 3 seed, USC, into the 2nd round, where they will await the winner of West Virginia and Kansas coming up. For now, though, we head to Missouri, where we have a little taste of the elements. That's right, we got a snow game in Columbia for the CFP. Virginia Tech and Missouri facing off from Columbia, and there is snow on the ground. What a scenic and beautiful sight. Missouri spent time as the nation's #1 team following a win over unbeaten Kansas deep in the year, but would fall to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. They got redemption in the Cotton Bowl over Arkansas, a 38-7 win to land in the AP top 5 in the last poll, coming in at number 4. Virginia Tech would fall to Kansas in the Orange Bowl, and although they finished with 3 losses, those L's came to number 2 LSU, number 2 Boston College, and number 8 Kansas. So the Hokies battle-tested, and Sean Glennon was kind of cooking on his opening possession for the Hokies. He completes a third down play to keep the drive alive early, then gets this deep ball to drop in his receiver's hands moments later to get deep into Tiger territory. These 2 passes set up a short Brandon Orr touchdown score to put the Hokies up after their opening series. Slow burner after 1 as both teams trying to thaw out. It's 7-0 Virginia Tech through a quarter. Missouri gets some momentum back to start the second quarter as the Hokies opt to go for it on 4th down and inches, and they are denied. Big stop for the Tigers now. What can they do with it? They end up tying the score after some Chase Daniel completions, but their touchdown may not come how you'd expect it to. Look at the legs from Daniel, shades of that 07 Nebraska game, after Daniel finds pay dirt on a long scamper to tie the score. In fitting NCAA 07 simulation fashion, though, Virginia Tech would have a response, and fast, in one play, in fact, as Glennon is able to find Wheeler for a long 80-yard receiving touchdown, as Wheeler just leaves everybody in the dust toward Snell. Hokies would then force a 3-and-out, get the ball back quick. Glennon avoided some ghosts here, getting a little antsy, but hey, whatever works, as he finds Brandon Orr streaking up the sideline, and Orr is dashing through the snow and into the end zone. Just like that, Virginia Tech is back in for another score. They make it 21-7 in the second quarter. That pass came on 3rd and 13, by the way. Daniel back to work on offense for Mizzou. He starts his streak of selling here like it's Black Friday. Interception number 1 for Daniel. Spoiler alert, it would not be his last. Virginia Tech would punt following their first interception, but right on cue. Here's pick number 2, and this one will result in 6 points. And the Hokies hopping ahead now, 28-7 before halftime, as they have all the momentum on their side, and Beamer ball is looking great. One more time for Daniel. A couple minutes later, he connects with his favorite target of the quarter, DJ Parker, but the only problem is Parker does not play for his team. Third pick in the second quarter, alone from Daniel here. Virginia Tech gets first down or 2, but their drive comes to an end by way of a turnover 2, of course, because, hey, why not? Glennon breaks the tackle but throws it right at the linebacker, and Mizzou gets a much-needed takeaway. That defensive play proves to pay off in a big way for the Tigers, as Daniel finally completes a big one to the correct team and hits Ray, who takes it all the way for a touchdown. That's the halftime deficit to 14 for his Missouri team. At least it looked like. Hokies just trying to run the clock out and warm up in the locker room, but they cough it up, and looks like they got a cold on that fumble, giving Missouri just enough time to kick a short field goal. 28-17 Virginia Tech at the break, but the Tigers have to be feeling pretty good here. Unfortunately, a new quarter does not mean a new quarterback, at least not yet for Missouri, and it's the same struggling Chase Daniel, and it's the same old result. Big stinky pick. 4th interception thrown by Daniel. It winds up costing Missouri 3 points as Virginia Tech is able to make a 46-yard field goal to add to their lead, make it 31-17. Daniel was just in the giving spirit in this game, apparently, because he was not done yet with the gifts. This time he gets absolutely blasted, puts the ball on the ground, and Virginia Tech is right there waiting on it and takes over in prime position to keep tacking on touchdowns. They would do just that, too, as it's the tight end again, Sam Wheeler, getting in for the toe-tapping score in the back of the end zone for his second score of the game, and a score that puts his Hokies out in front 38-17. That would be the score after 3 quarters. Chase Patton now comes in for Chase Daniel and plays much better, strings together a drive, gets into the red zone, but his name is still Chase, and the Tigers are still doing a lot of chasing to catch up, and they will continue to have a ways to go as the throw from Patton misfires. And then they come up short on 4th down to keep that score steady at 38-17 Virginia Tech. Late 4th quarter now, this one well in hand. Patton's still in for Missouri, and he follows suit, getting in on the stat sheet with a pick 6 of his own. Virgil house call, enough to send these Tigers fans back to the house. Patton actually winds up getting injured. Missouri inserts their third-string quarterback, J.P. Tillman. Tillman's able to get a late touchdown run from around midfield as he makes the score look a little bit more reasonable here. 11 seconds to go in the game. Tigers being aggressive. I love it. They call an onside kick. They're actually going to get it. But here's why you shouldn't take this video too seriously. They do the onside kick and quickly find themselves faced with a 4th down and 1. Just 1 second to play. Nothing can happen here. Nothing can go wrong here. 4th down and 1. You're trailing, and they decide to punt. Gary Pickle, come on, bro. What is this? I'm disgusted. So that moves Virginia Tech to the next round as the 9-seeded Hokies score the upset over the 4-seed Tigers, winning here in this one 45-24. They'll face the winner of our next game in this simulation, and that is number 5, Ohio State, welcoming number 8, Oklahoma. Ohio State, the runner-up, falling to LSU in the national championship in the 2007 season. They come in ranked at number 5, but a team that can make some noise, no doubt about that. They're matched up with an Oklahoma team who fell by 20 to West Virginia in the Fiesta Bowl, but they have plenty of weapons. Jumping right into it, 3rd down for Ohio State on their first possession, and that's not the right shade of red that Todd Beckman is throwing to. It's taken back for a pick 6 by way of Lindy Holmes of Oklahoma. 3rd down again for the Buckeyes on their next possession, and this time the opposite result happens. A long touchdown for Ohio State, 7-7 tie, 2 big scores just 3 minutes into the ball game. Fireworks continue. Next play from scrimmage for Oklahoma. They go 65 yards for 6 themselves on a long run from running back Alan Patrick. This is looking like a Big 12 type of game in Columbus early. The highlight plays continue again, just 1 play later, as it's another interception from the Sooners in the first quarter. Then Oklahoma is faced with a 3rd down after the pick, and they cash in with another score in the first quarter on a passing strike from Sam Bradford to Malcolm Kelly this time. Buckeyes fans, close your eyes. It's not going to get any better in this period, as it is another Beckman interception. 3 already. Jim Tressel might have a decision to make. Ohio State's defense will rise to the occasion, though. They get a pick of their own, and it's a turnover fest in the Buckeye State. 2 plays later, Beckman makes up for it after not getting benched. A long touchdown strike on a short pass. Catch and run for Ohio State to make it a 1-score game again. Deep breath. Finally, quarter ends. It's 21-14 Oklahoma. Ohio State gets the ball back. Chris Beanie Wells punches the clock. It's time to go to work for the big fella. He gets a couple nice gains on several carries and eventually busts off a big one. It's a tying touchdown for the Buckeyes. We're right back even at 21. Oklahoma has a horse in the backfield too. It's not Adrian Peterson. It's not DeMarco Murray. It's Alan Patrick. Patrick gets loose for the second time in the first half for another score, and the Sooners are back in front in this shootout. Oklahoma makes a stand. The Sooners have a shot to add to their lead, but instead, Sam Bradford throws an interception to James Laurinaitis. Then several plays later, Todd Beckman, feeling like that guy, feeling like him, he hooks up with Brian Robisky for the touchdown, and we are all even going into the locker room in Ohio. No scoring in the third quarter, so we skip ahead to the final quarter, and Sam Bradford turns into Sam Bradford. He starts slinging that pill, gets a deep pass completion, a couple deep pass completions at that, to get a drive moving downfield. That sets up a Sooners field goal, and Oklahoma takes a 31-28 lead late. Then the Sooners are in business. They force an Ohio State fumble. They get the ball back deep in Buckeyes territory. There's 3 minutes left. They have the ball at the 25-yard line. All they have to do is hold on to the ball and run the clock out. And oh no, Sam Bradford, what is you doing? Malcolm Jenkins makes the crucial play, taking it all the way back for a pick 6 to give Ohio State the lead. Wow. Next series for Oklahoma, they're faced with a 3rd down and a long ways to go, and they aren't able to convert. And after that, Bob Stoops decides that he's going to punt. The Sooners still have 3 timeouts left, but wait, 8-minute fumble. Ohio State recovers, and now they get on offense. And all they have to do is pick up a 1st down, but they can't. Sooners get the ball back in 3 plays. Their series goes as follows. Sack, incompletion, and the sack you see here. With a minute left, Coach Tressel decides he's going to be a riverboat gambler and trusts Beckman to throw the ball in the red zone, and it pays off. Robisky gets his 2nd touchdown, and it's enough to ice the game in favor of Ohio State. An interception winds up ending things in Columbus as Jenkins taps it over to his guy Laurinaitis, and he gets his 2nd pick to close the door on the Sooners. Ohio State completes the comeback, advances with a 42-31 victory on their home field. No flags being planted at midfield on this trip to Columbus from the Sooners. Ohio State positions themselves to face the Virginia Tech Hokies in the second round with a dub against OU. Our last game of the simulation might be the most fun matchup as it's West Virginia facing off against Kansas. The Jayhawks started the season 11-0 in real life before losing to Missouri, and West Virginia also fell to a similar fate as they lost their last game of the season against Pitt. Two are looking at redemption in this playoff situation, but one will have their story come to a close early. Kansas gets the ball first in this matchup with future Big 12 foes. Todd Reesing takes a hard shot here, but he's able to complete the ball on 3rd and long, get it closer for his Jayhawks offense. That sets up Jake Sharp, and the Jayhawk backs look sharp. On the short score, he takes a bow for the touchdown run. I don't take a bow for the terrible pun. And number 85 is tripping balls, I guess, in this playoff matchup. Seriously, is bro good? Is he okay? Now West Virginia on the first play on offense, and we see what the magician Pat White can do with it. The quarterback takes it in for the 80-yard touchdown dash, and the Mountaineers respond right back in just one play to even the count. This will be a game, unfortunately, impacted by injuries. Kansas would lose their starting quarterback, Todd Reesing, early. Might not be the worst thing possible as Kerry Meyer was actually ranked a couple points better than Reesing overall. After one quarter, we are dead even at 7 apiece in Morgantown. Now a loss that would clearly hurt West Virginia as they have their best player, Steve Slayton, fall, and he's unable to return to the game after he stopped short on a 3rd down run early in the second quarter. Have no fear, Mountaineer fans. That just means a young freshman by the name of Noel Devine will have to come into the contest for you. Midway through the second quarter, Kansas able to complete this pass, get near 1st down yardage, but they give it up. The fumble sets West Virginia up with some prime real estate here. They would wind up getting stopped from scoring a touchdown, so a field goal would have to suffice. Coming from a name you may be familiar with, Pat McAfee. That's right, it's Pat that puts WVU ahead 10-7 now in the second. This game, of course, would not be free from the turnover shenanigans either, as shortly after Pat White throws a pick, it's West Virginia's Geesley Derville getting a pick in response, and Derville isn't done there. He takes it all the way back for the pick six before halftime to give the Mountaineers a 17-7 edge. We know the simulation loves its defensive and special teams touchdowns. We've already seen one this game, and I'm bad at surprises, so here's the special teams score for Kansas to get right back in it. This came about a minute and a half into the third, 17-14 West Virginia now, but more turnovers from Meyer and Kansas midway through the third as he throws it to Ridden Malik, and the West Virginia defensive back nearly takes this one all the way back too. That would set up McAfee for another short kick. His field goal is true to put the Mountaineers up by 6 heading into the final quarter of play. Kansas would set themselves up with a great opportunity early in the fourth quarter as they get a Mountaineer fumble. However, the Jayhawks aren't able to do anything with it as they get sacked on back-to-back plays on 3rd and 4th down and end up turning the ball over on downs, ruining what seemed to be a promising drive, still trailing by 6. WVU capitalizes on that turnover momentum by picking up some first down themselves on the feet of Pat White. Then Pat pays it all off with a passing touchdown to receiver Darrell Jalot. The Mountaineers would go for 2 and be to 9, making the score 26-14 in favor of West Virginia. Under a minute and a half to play, and Kerry Meyer makes things a little more interesting as he is finally able to get things clicking, finding his target, Marcus Henry, who takes it the distance, puts the Jayhawks right back into the thick of things. Onside kick winds up getting muffed. It bounces free, it bounces around. The Kansas is unable to corral it. And then shortly after, a Noel Devine first down runs, puts an end to this one. Slayton only carries 3 times before the injury, but West Virginia still finishes with a first round high of 174 rushing yards as a team and a 26-21 victory. So there you have it. With West Virginia's win, they advance to the next round where they take on USC. Other matchups are Georgia versus Texas as the other game at the bottom of the bracket, then Virginia Tech versus Ohio State, and Hawaii versus LSU. What matchup out of these do you think will be the most intriguing? Part 2 of this video will be out soon for the second round of simulation results. But hey, don't take this too seriously. Looking at some crazy stats from this simulation, teams had an average of 4.8 turnovers per game in these sims. Virginia Tech turned it over the fewest with 2 turnovers. Texas gave it away 8 times in their game versus Tennessee and still won. Only Tennessee and West Virginia had 3 turnovers. The remaining 9 other teams in the field all turned it over 4 more times in their game. The Hawaii BYU, Texas Tennessee, Boston College USC game all had 11 turnovers combined total. To that point, every game featured a defensive touchdown. 8 of the 12 teams in the playoffs scored at least 1 defensive touchdown, with Hawaii, Virginia Tech, and USC all posting 2 apiece. And then 4 of the 6 games played featured a special teams touchdown as well. The 12 teams combined to rush for just 849 yards. 3 teams finished their games with negative rushing yards: Hawaii, BYU, and USC. Only 4 of the 12 teams rushed for over 100 yards in their games. West Virginia was the most with 174. Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Boston College were the others. 5 of the 12 teams finished with under 16 total rushing yards for the entire game. So yeah, if your team lost, don't take it to heart. Our EA computer simulation screwed your team over, not me. I'm innocent. If you enjoyed this video, I cannot stress enough, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more of these what-if type simulation videos coming, so if you like this concept, please leave me a comment, let me know. Part 2 of this coming very soon. Stay tuned. Hopefully your team can win our imaginary 2007 college football playoff. By the way, if you didn't notice, I think I'm rocking with West Virginia, the Mountaineers. I'm picking them to win it all. Got my 07 Gator Bowl vintage shirt on here, representing my Big East brothers in arms and the Mountaineers. But who do you think is going to win? Let us know. Leave us a comment. Hit that like button on the way out. And part 2 will be coming very soon here on Spiced Up Gaming. So stay tuned.